Hi, I'm Gary, the water guy for the Water Stores Group, and I own the water store in Midland, Ontario. Today we're talking about how to assemble and install a Vectapure NX reverse osmosis system. This is a 5-stage system, a great system. Typically we install this for our customers, but to be honest, it is relatively do-it-yourself orientated, so if you want to install it yourself, you certainly can. Just follow along the process. So the first thing you need to do is think about where you're going to install this. The faucet is typically installed at the kitchen sink, so you want to make sure that the reverse osmosis system itself is installed within 20 feet of the faucet. Otherwise, you're not going to have very good flow. Okay? So underneath the kitchen sink is a great place. If your basement is unfinished underneath your kitchen, that's a great place too, but remember, it's got to be within 20 feet. The tank can be installed either vertically or horizontally, doesn't make any difference. So let's start with the assembly process. Okay, so with the tank, there's a blue cap at the top. So just pry off that cap, and then this is the shutoff. So you just screw that into the top. Now you want to make sure that it's tight, that it doesn't leak, obviously, but you don't want to over-tighten it. It's just a plastic fitting and can be easily snapped off, so just make sure it's nice and tight. Now, currently it's in the shutoff position. This is in this position, so if you turn it this way, that's the on position in line with the flow coming out of the tank. So we'll leave it in the shutoff position for now. Okay, and then we'll move on to assembling the manifold. So this is the manifold. It already has the membrane pre-assembled and the post filter pre-assembled. Now you'll see there's a number of stickers on the ends here. I've already removed those stickers and applied them to the side here. So that indicates this one here says to tank. This one here says to inlet. Okay, so I removed the stickers from where they were and put them on the side, so for future reference, you know what gets connected where. On this end, there was a sticker that says to faucet. Again, I moved it nearby here so we know where the connection to the faucet goes. Okay, so then at this stage, we have to make sure that your hands are nice and clean. They've been recently washed, and so that we don't contaminate the filters. The filters come already inside the housings, but you need to unwrap them, which I've already done that. These are the carbon filters, the ones that have the mesh on the outside. So there's two spots on the manifold that says carbon filter and one says pre-filter. So obviously the two carbons go where it's indicated. So all you do is just line that up, the filter housing with the manifold. And at this stage, just want to tighten it hand tight, which I've done. Same thing here. This is, again, another carbon filter. You can tell by the mesh on the outside. So again, we'll run that inside there. Line it up nice and straight. And we can tighten that up. Again, hand tight at this stage is perfect. And the last filter where it says pre-filter, this is a spun polypropylene sediment filter. Okay, it's all white, there's no mesh on the outside. So that way you keep from mixing them up. And once again, we line that up, tighten that up. Now again, you don't want to over tighten these filter canisters because you just want to tighten enough that they don't leak. But the tighter you make it, the more difficult it is going to be when it comes time for filter changes in the future. So again, you just want to snug it up, tight enough so it doesn't leak. If once you connect this up later on, you happen to notice a slight leak, don't worry, just shut off the water flow and you can tighten up that filter housing a wee bit more to take care of that leak. Okay, so we've got this assembled now. The tank is ready to go. The faucet, we're going to talk about installing that shortly. Now at this point I should mention about the John Guest fittings that are used to connect the tubing to the unit itself. So we'll use this shutoff here as an example. You'll see the little blue clip on the end. You can just pull that little blue clip off. That releases the fitting so that you can put tubing in or remove the tubing. Okay, so once you've removed that clip, then you just take the tubing, you shove it in. You'll feel some resistance initially, but keep pushing. It'll go in about another 3/8 of an inch or so. Okay? Once you've pushed it all the way in, then back it off a wee bit so that space is created in the collar. And again, you can put this locking clip into that space. That maintains the space, and that locks it in place. So now that creates a watertight seal, and you don't have to worry about the tubing being pulled out. To remove the tubing, same except in the reverse process. You pull out the locking clip. Now you push the collar and the tubing all the way in, and holding back the collar with your fingernails, you pull this tubing straight out. That collar needs to be held all the way in to be able to pull that tubing straight out. And this John Guest fitting can be used several times over and over without a leak. So that's the assembly process. Next, we're moving on to connecting all this to your household plumbing. One thing I should mention to you to keep in mind is all the connections with the tubing, leave lots of extra tubing, lots of extra slack in the tubing, because in the future when it comes to replace the filters, you want that slack to be able to move this around as you're undoing the filter housings, etc. There's two places where you need to connect to your household plumbing for your reverse osmosis system. The first place is a supply line, and in this case it would be here. This is the cold water connection going to the faucet. To find out which is the cold and which is the hot connection, all you do is run the water, and there'll be difference in temperature. So the one that isn't hot obviously would be the cold line. So that's where you would connect the supply. So the supply fitting looks like this, and this is actually, you can see there's a gasket inside there. So what happens is, once you've disconnected this fitting here, you'd wrap Teflon tape around the male side and then screw this onto that. And then once you've completed that, then you'd wrap Teflon tape around the male side of this, and the flex hose that's already there, you would attach it, thread it onto the top of this, and tighten it. You don't want to over tighten it, but just tighten it enough that it doesn't leak. And then this is the shut off. This is the supply line going to your reverse osmosis system. This is on now. Turning it like this is off. And that would give supply to your system. Now then what we have to do is do a drain connection. So the drain connection has to go on before the P-trap. This is the P-trap here. So before the P-trap would be on this side here, because on this side back here is where it goes to the drain. So to do that, you need to drill a 1/4-inch hole in the top of this. And then this is the fitting you use for the drain line. Once you've drilled the hole, then there's a rubber gasket like this. You punch out this center part, put that over the hole, and then this gets clamped on like that over the hole. There's 2 bolts that go on either side. You tighten them up. Again, you don't want to over tighten it. And that would give your drain connection to your reverse osmosis system, and that's where the tubing, the John Guest tubing, would fit into here. On a stainless steel sink like this one, you would drill a hole in this area here for the faucet, would be a 5/8-inch hole, or if the configuration is different, on a laminate countertop like this one, a hole could also be drilled into the laminate countertop if your sink attaches from underneath or doesn't have as large a flange around the outside as this one does. With this type of a sink, the holes are already pre-drilled in the back. They just leave the plug in there because it's not drilled all the way through. So you just knock out the plug from the back, and for a 5/8 hole, and the faucet will fit in there. If you have a granite or quartz countertop, you need a specialist to drill that out for you. It's not something a do-it-yourselfer could do. We do that for customers all the time. Okay, great. We've got everything assembled. We've got the connections made for the drain line, for the supply line, and we've got everything organized. So now we just need to connect everything together. So again, we talked earlier about the connection points here. So this line here says it goes to tank. So again, using the tubing, you would connect it from here to the tank. Then this line over here says to inlet. So again, your inlet that comes from this shut-off line here, you use tubing connected from here to here, and then the last connection would be to faucet. That's the one on this end here. So again, you connect from here to the faucet that you've installed beside your kitchen sink. Once you've done all the connections, then what you want to do is turn your water back on, check for any leaks, and then once you've turned your water on, you want to make sure that this is in the off position, actually before you turn your water on. Once you've turned the water on, then you want to open this up slightly until you see hear water flowing through the system. Now it's going to take quite a while for it to fill up the whole thing, and you'll hear the water running to the drain, okay, as it's flushing the system. So that's good news. Check for leaks. Keep checking for leaks to make sure there aren't any. If there are any, shut this off, and then go and fix that leak right away. So once you've got water filling into the system, keep it filling, and then you can open up the faucet and wait until you see a bit of water dribbling out of the tap. Once you see water dribbling out of the tap, then you can close the faucet. Make sure the tank is open. So turn this shut off here in the open position, and then you can open the inlet all the way open. So you've got full flow going through. So what that will do now is it'll fill the system and it'll start making water and start filling up this tank. Now it's going to take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to fill this tank for the first time. You don't want to drink the water that's filled, because what it's going to do is going to flush the membrane, it's going to flush all the filters. So you want to clean all that out. So once it's totally filled the tank, like I say, in about 2 hours, then open up the faucet, let it run till the water flow stops or just starts dribbling out of the faucet. And close the faucet and go through the process again. You want to do that a total of at least 2 times, preferably 3 times, to make sure you've cleaned the system out 100% before you start drinking the water. And that's it. That's the process to install your own reverse osmosis system in your home. If you like what you saw today, please check out our website at www.waterstoresgroup.com. And again, I'm Gary the Water Guy from the Water Store in Midland, Ontario. Thanks for watching.